This is Zafu from Raid Leader Exchange, and in this video we're looking at the first test of Heroic Skolex, one of the later bosses in Sepulcher of the first ones, and what appears to be the DPS check encounter similar to Butcher or Patchwork. The fight is relatively simple, with just one phase and an increasing difficulty as time goes on. The primary mechanic is Ephemera Dust, a stacking damage over time effect that is applied by various abilities throughout the fight. To clear these stacks, the raid will need to stack together, forcing the boss to submerge. When the boss re-emerges, it gains a permanent 10% damage increase, which stacks. We'll look at what this means for the fight shortly. Tanks will need to stand within 10 yards of each other throughout the entire encounter, as melee hits are split equally between them. Additionally, they will be dealing with a combination ability every 20 seconds or so. The boss will cast Rend and Riftmaw, two conal abilities in a completely random order. Rend applies a heavy stacking bleed, and Riftmaw is a large hit of shadow damage with a short debuff, increasing damage taken from subsequent Riftmaw casts. Tanks should note that, unlike a number of other bosses in WoW, taunting during the casts does cause Skolex to change the direction it's facing, so you should not taunt until after the debuff is applied. For the raid, Skolex has very few mechanics, but those it does have must be handled correctly. Dust Flail is a cast which is put out periodically, applying one stack of Ephemera Dust to everyone in the raid. During the tank combo, Skolex also casts Dust Blast, which applies additional stacks to the 3 furthest targets from the boss. Organised raid groups should swap the players who are furthest away between tank combos to split the damage evenly and extend the time you can spend before submerging the boss. Note that Dust Blast is splash damage, so the furthest players must be at least 10 yards apart to avoid taking unnecessary stacks. Wretch targets a random player, spawning a huge cone in their direction. Being hit will apply a hefty debuff, which also teleports you randomly while afflicted. We didn't see this on the PTR, but in short, just avoid that. The boss will also spawn blood from its wounds, shooting out void zones randomly within 20 yards. This forces melee to continuously move, and prevents ranged from being too close to the boss. Being hit by the blood applies a haste decrease which can be dispelled, and deals substantial damage. Once your stacks of Ephemera Dust are too high, you can force the boss to clear them. When the entire raid, including tanks, are stacked together, the boss will submerge and tunnel towards the group. Being within 20 yards of it when it submerges will kill you, but being hit as it re-emerges will clear all stacks of Ephemera Dust, dealing a small amount of damage. The boss will also gain a 10% damage increase every time it re-emerges. This creates an interesting dynamic similar to Thok the Bloodthirsty in Siege of Orgrimmar. The longer you can survive without submerging or phasing the boss, the less you will suffer at the end. Lastly, it is worth mentioning that this boss has a very hard enrage at 6 minutes, making this fight a pretty tight DPS check. For those interested, the boss does have a short cooldown on his submerge ability, but he does interrupt all casts aside from Rend when he does submerge. We tested a pull where we continually submerged it, and we were able to get pretty far before it cast a tank combo and hit the entire raid with Dust Blast. Thanks for watching this preview, and I'll see you all in the next one.